Alright boys, look what I drug home. Took a long trip out to Colorado and got me a Bultaco Alpina 250. It's the first Bultaco I've ever had. And from what I can see, I got a pretty good deal on it. And the guy discounted it a little bit further for the drive, so that was cool. So she's pretty complete. We're missing a tail light, of course, and the speedo, and a kill switch, and, you know, a muffler. So there's a few things we need to replace, but nothing that's going to stop us from working on this. I can find those pieces over time. Now, you might notice if you're not familiar with the Bultacos, they're a little weird. Your kickstarter's on this left-hand side, and apparently is very loose. Brake is also on this side, and your shifter is on the opposite side. So, if you're used to traditional Japanese bikes, this one's a little odd, and I think I'm going to have to relearn how to ride again. But, like I say, overall she's in pretty good shape. This lighting is kind of crappy right here, but I wanted to show you guys, look at how these wheel bearings spin in this. See if I can get her rolling good for you. So wheel bearings, I've checked them, they're absolutely pristine. Bearings up here feel great in the steering stem. And something else about these bikes that's very interesting is this is all fiberglass. This whole piece is fiberglass. Now, I don't know if this tank leaks, but I did see a small repair on the bottom. Let's take a look inside, see what horrors lie beneath. So we'll have to see, maybe we'll put some gas in there and just see if it leaks, but yeah, kind of interesting. We've got some of these little areas where the fiberglass is degraded a little bit, but overall it's not in horrible shape. One thing about this bike I noticed though is these cables are pretty craptacular. So if you look at these cables, these are kind of a weird setup too. I'm not sure what the deal is with these pieces here. Maybe somebody can tell me, because I'm ignorant on Bultacos. These are obviously not the right bars for this bike. These are a set of Renthals, and they do not fit the clamps. So we'll likely be changing those. This is a Preston Petty front fender, but it's not in very good shape, and the guy gave me a set of brand new Preston Petty fenders that are blue, and they're still in the package, so we're going to use those. So stick with me while we figure out if we've got spark and test the compression, etc. Alright, we're here looking at the points inside the magneto. This is extremely hard to video. So, alright guys, hopefully you can see that. It's real hard to get the camera to focus in there, but these points look pretty clean to me. So I'll clean them a little bit, and then we'll see if that makes any difference. I kind of doubt it, so we may be looking at either a coil or a condenser. So if we pull this apart, we'll just replace all of it. So let me get these cleaned off camera and we'll check it for spark again, but I'm sure we're not going to have spark. So most likely we're going to be looking at a coil or something like that. I know these coils on these Bultacos are famous for going bad. So I found a kit. You can see the coil up in there. I found a kit with the coil and the points and the condenser for about 60 bucks. So that's not horrible. And we need a few other things too. I'm missing the adapter off the carburetor. This tube is also cracked, and it looks like somebody's tried to repair it here. It's not going to hurt it to run it without an air cleaner just in the shop here. There's no dust in here. So, and then we've obviously got a really interesting repair to the fuel tank petcock, and that just freed up on me, so at least that's working. And I do not know if this tank leaks or not. I'm kind of worried that it does. I did see one repair. It's like right here on the other side. So I'll have to put something in there and see if it leaks. But onward and upward with the points. Guys, as expected, no spark. Now, keep in mind, this has got some jankiness in the wiring, and if you come up here to the junction block, I'm sure those points inside of here where this contacts are all corroded and oxidized. So, and you've got stuff like this, like loose wires hanging off. I've got a black wire on the other side hanging off, which could be the kill switch wire, but you'd think it would have spark if that's not connected. But maybe it's touching ground somewhere. Alright, I've dimmed the lights down. I'm going to try and hold this and kick this over by hand. Of course, we've got the spark plug out, so there's no compression. But just make sure this has got a good contact here, and can get this to stay. So you can see there's nothing still. So there's a myriad of issues to explore here, and I just stripped back these wires here to see what was underneath, and somebody spliced these. So we've got a green, a white, and a black here with a red butt splice connector. But then here, I believe this is our taillight wiring. So I don't know. I'm sure I'm wrong, but we're going to find a wiring diagram and check it out, and then these look like they've been spliced too. Because here we've got, this is so silly, we've got white and green, and then down here we've got brown and yellow. So we're going to peel this back and see what we find here too. But a wiring diagram is going to be essential. I need to just look. I think I've got one, but I need to look and see if the colors on this bike match the harness and stuff. So we're going to keep exploring and figure out what the issues are. I did put the cover back on. I was going to show you guys those coils inside the stator look pretty darn good. They almost look brand new. So I think this bike was stored indoors, because when the guy I got it from had it in a garage, but who knows where it was before that. But it didn't look like it was stored outdoors and full of water like my PE 250. That sucker's a nightmare. This one ought to be a lot easier. Cross my fingers. I shouldn't have said that. I figured while I had the spark plug out, it'd be a good time to do a compression test. I can't kick this bike over really good because it's on the stand, but what I can do, it looks like we're about 100, 110. Yeah, 100. So not horrible, not great, but it'll run. And I don't know how long this has been sitting, but maybe those rings will seal up a little bit. So anyway, 100 psi, not horrible, not the best, but it should run. Alright guys, so you might notice in here there's a stump. Well, that's where the kickstand should be. And this is really annoying to have this on a stand all the time, so I thought, well, maybe I'll fabricate one and just at least make it temporary so that I don't have to have this on the stand all the time. So that's what we're going to do next. I've got the cotter pin out of here, and this pin is stuck in here pretty good. So I'm going to have to try and let it soak and then drive it out. And then I've got all of our measurements down here for what I believe we need to make that kickstand. So let's give that a go. Guys, you might notice the bike is off the stand, especially since the stand's over there. I'll show you what we got here. This is a few hours worth of work tops, but I just took some stuff I had sitting around, kind of copied the original kickstand design from pictures. It's not perfect, but it works. I still need to grind it and grind some of these welds down here, and then fix up that pin. That pin was pretty messed up from these brackets in there rubbing on it, and I actually had to bend that back bracket to get the little hoop and the pin out because it wouldn't come out. But I went down the hardware store and got the heaviest duty kickstand style spring I could find. And then, let me see if I can show you this standing up. I'm going to have to use my foot here. So that's how that sits. Doesn't touch anything, doesn't get in the way. And then the bike obviously stands up on its own here. So I'd call that a win. It's much easier to work with it like this than it is having it on this stand. Every time I work with that, I'm afraid it's going to tip over. So we've got a couple more things to do as well. I've got to clean up these washers. These are kind of a thin special washer, and then put in cotter keys up in here. And then if you look, I don't know if you can see it or not, but up in here, that's where I had to drive that out with the air hammer. I'll just fill that in with weld and then turn it back on the lathe. But for right now, this is plenty secure. She's not going anywhere. I don't even have it cotter keyed yet, but I feel confident in leaving that overnight. So onward and upward. Now we can, once we finish that, we can start working on getting spark. All right, guys, here's our kickstand. That is not bare metal, that's painted. Painted and primed with Ace aluminum gloss. I'll show you guys how that looks when we get it done. I've got all the pins cleaned up and stuff, and got new cotter keys found, and you can see I repaired the end of that pin, polished this up, and then cleaned all the washers. These are a real thin washer. I don't have anything like that to replace it with, so best to go original. We're going to get that thrown in, and I'll show it to you when it's in place. All right, guys, I decided to phone a friend and got a picture of a Alpina with the correct paint on it, or very close to the correct paint. That other paint was way too shiny, so here we are in place. And I just painted the spring too. I painted this in place because that was a real pain in the butt to get that pin in there. And I kind of didn't like how that shiny chrome spring stuck out. So most of my other bikes, the spring is painted the same color as the frame, so just went with that here. We're just going to let it sit on the stand and dry, and then we'll have a functional kickstand that doesn't look too ugly. Alright, boys, I think we found our smoking gun here. So I tested this coil, tested our primary and our secondary, and I wanted to show you this. I already know what the results say. Let me see if I can do this on film. This is going to be a little tricky. Let's see if I can just put this in here. And so, looks pretty good, right? Until you try the secondary. This is, like I say, a little awkward on camera here, but we're gonna get this on here. So I'm making contact inside the boot here from the primary to the secondary wire, and we've got nothing. So I've tried all sorts of different tests. I've stabbed through the insulation up here to see if it's the wire, on and on, but look at this. Could that have shorted to ground and shorted that coil out? Who knows? But it looks like we've got an open circuit inside of the coil windings. So I've got another coil on the way, and we'll put that in, see if we've got spark. I did also test our output from our exciter coil inside the stator, and even though this multimeter isn't a fast enough sweep, you could still see it change, and that indicates to me that that's working. And like I say, the points and stuff in there looked really great, and looked like everything in there was in fantastic shape. No signs of water or any corrosion for that matter. And this is testing bad on every test I've done, so I feel pretty confident moving forward that that's going to be our issue. Hopefully it's the only issue. I did run continuity tests through these terminal blocks and everything, and despite how it looks, we do have pretty good continuity in there. Now that doesn't mean I'm not going to take this apart and clean them, because I will, but for right now I'm just going to leave that alone. And then after consulting the wiring diagram, this is our kill switch wire right here, and it goes up here. So I'm not sure exactly how that was set up. It looks to me like this is the switch right here, like you flip this from side to side. Let's see if it'll move. Oh yeah. So there you go. Now, question is, can we get it back in the center? Alright, just to double check, I put the coil back on the frame here, and I turned this switch to all three positions, and we got no spark in any position. I also disconnected this wire, which according to the wiring diagram is supposed to be the same as a Sherpa wiring diagram, but I don't know. So I went ahead and switched this to all 3 different positions, and we have no spark. I also disconnected this wire, which according to the wiring diagrams I found is the kill switch wire, and still nothing. So I think our diagnostics on the coil are pretty conclusive, and we've got a bad coil. I know these FEMSA coils are known for going bad, not being very reliable, so I've got an aftermarket one coming, and we're going to see how that does and see if we get some spark. Alright guys, well, we're still having issues. I'm testing the leads coming out of the stator again. I already tested this with the digital multimeter and I got a reading out of it, but I didn't have a specific number because the sweep on the digital is not fast enough. So we've got out the old school micronta, and if you look at my setup here, negative lead is on the case, positive lead is going up here with the black wire coming through this junction box back into the stator. Your black wire coming out of the stator is your primary ignition wire, your exciter. So I'm going to kick this over by hand and let you guys watch the multimeter. So as you can see, we do have power there. So we're going to move on to testing our green wire here and see what's up with that. So after extensive testing and disconnecting wires and stuff, I actually got nailed on the main wire coming out of the stator, which is a good thing. Tested on the multimeter, and it's looking like now that the coil is good, the new coil's good. Alright guys, so I was messing around, looking up here. Apparently these Bultacos are supposed to be grounded through the tail light, so somebody cut off the tail light. So I put these together, and that didn't do any good. That doesn't help. That doesn't work. That was a false lead. So once again, you look at here, we got no spark, but check this out. I just had a thought. Grab another spark plug off the shelf and check this out. We got spark now. It was a spark plug all along, so we're gonna throw that sucker in the trash. So let's put the plug back in, and I'll clean and gap this plug because it's kind of nasty, and then we'll just take this boot off and give it a little spritz of starting fluid in here and see if we can get it to pop off. If it does, I might rig up like a gas can or something here and see if we can get some fuel into the carburetor. I haven't even taken that carburetor apart yet to see what's going on, but let's do that and then we'll move forward from there. So we got spark. Guys, we're gonna put a little bit of lube down the cylinder. This can is not working very well, so I'm just gonna have to drool it in there. This can's foaming at the mouth like she got rabies. Okay, we don't want to hydrolock that cylinder, but so let's kick it over and get some of that lube distributed. Okay, let's put our plug back in here, and I gotta go get a wrench and tighten this. I already cleaned and gapped this, so just throw that in. This is the same number plug that was in there, B8ES. Alright guys, I got us a temporary gas can set up with my Redneck Engineering. So I did this on my buddy's KS125. So I had this from that, and I've got it feeding down into the carburetor here. I did get it to pop once on starting fluid. I didn't have a chance to film that because, you know, it's just me. I've got some help to film right now, so let's kick this over and see if she'll go. Gas everywhere. Try to tighten this setup. This is not the best setup, but it's what we got. And it's cold out here too, so. Well, I'd say she's gonna run away on us, but geez, that started right up. So let's figure out what's going on, if our throttle's stuck open or what. This whole throttle setup's goofy. It's not original, and it's not even bolted together actually. So I think that's just
pulling on it, probably where I've got the wire for the gas can. It's probably pulling on the cable. So let me fix that and let's see if we can get it to idle. Alright guys, we have a stuck throttle cable, so I just disconnected it. Let's see if this will work. And I put the Kickstarter on way too far back, so I'm gonna have to fix that. Well, this Kickstart's got a bum screw in it that doesn't really grab. So yeah, super helpful. Just popped right off there. This case was loose too, so I put some screws in that. But yeah, let's see if we can get this back on here in a civilized manner. That's an original Bultaco screw. Why that Kickstarter's popping off like that? Technically, this shouldn't even be able to slide off there when the screw's in that. See, that's just popping right off there, even with the screw on there. Look into that and see what's up. Alright, let's try this again, see if we can manage not to lose the Kickstarter. Ooh, I kicked back. It's trying. Okay, there we go. Trying. Don't want to idle. That Kickstarter keeps sliding off. Bultaco! Alright boys, we got her running and idling. So next step will be cleaning the carburetor and starting to go through the wiring and all the other crap this bike needs. And we need to locate a muffler because this thing is loud. Somebody has either broken off or cut off the muffler, and I think they've robbed some parts from it like my Speedo. But that being said, it does run, it does idle. So I'll consider that a win for this video. Thanks for watching guys, and stay tuned for more on this. And this is Reaper signing off on another one.